All right, so get this. We're talking like robot hitmen,
Yeah.
AI that knows it exists,
Yeah.
and like lab-made pandemics that could wipe us all out.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Sounds like a pretty bad movie marathon, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, today we're diving into Mustafa Suleyman's book, The Coming Wave,
Okay.
and he's arguing that this stuff is way closer than we think.
That's a little unsettling.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, this isn't coming from some, sci-fi nut job.
Right.
Suleyman, he co-founded DeepMind.
Oh, wow. Okay.
These are the folks who build AlphaGo. The AI that, totally destroyed the world's best Go player.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so he's not, like, against progress or anything.
Right.
But after seeing all this tech firsthand, he's
Yeah.
basically like, hold up, how do we not end up in, a disaster movie?
Yeah. I mean, that's a valid question for sure.
Right. It's like, inventing the car was cool, but then we got traffic jams and, pollution and all this other stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So Suleiman's saying we're on the edge of this thing he calls a general purpose wave.
Okay.
And basically what that means is that these technologies, they start small, but then, bam, suddenly they're cheap and powerful and like absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
It's think about how fast we went from those like clunky computers that used to fill entire rooms to like smartphones that we all have in our pockets, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just picking up speed,
Yeah.
like exponentially.
Wow.
We're creating something like 18 million gigabytes of data
Yeah.
every minute.
Every minute.
Every minute. That's insane.
That's the scale. That's a crazy scale.
Yeah, that's the scale we're dealing with here. The good news is this tech could potentially solve like climate change,
Yeah.
food shortages, all sorts of, huge problems.
Yeah.
But the catch is that same power in the wrong hands.
Right.
That's where things get a little scary.
Yeah. A little scary is an understatement, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not like Luddites here,
No.
smashing
yeah.
machines or anything.
Yeah.
But Suleyman keeps bringing up this uncontainable asymmetry thing.
Okay.
And it's kind of freaking me out, honestly.
What does he mean by that?
So he's saying that this wave of technology is different
Okay.
because it's not just governments or big companies, calling the shots anymore.
Right.
Individuals, small groups,
Yeah.
they're getting their hands on technology that like used to be top secret military stuff.
Wow.
So think about it. Back in the day, you needed like a nation state level budget to launch a cyber attack that could, I don't know, shut down a hospital's computers.
Right.
Now, that kind of power is out there.
It's more accessible.
Oh, yeah. And it's getting easier to use all the time.
That is concerning.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even about someone's going to try something really bad.
Right.
It's when in,
Right. Right.
And then it's not even just hacking anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Suleyman talks about these tiny robot assassins, like the size of bugs,
Oh, wow.
that could become like commonplace.
Jeez.
It's kind of wild to think about how vulnerable we are.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to like take a deep breath for a second.
Yeah, me too.
Because on top of all of that, Suleyman's saying the systems that we rely on,
Right.
like governments and institutions and all that stuff,
Yeah.
they're built for a much slower world.
Right. Yeah.
They're not ready for this speed of change.
It's like they're trying to, I don't know, catch a bullet train with a bicycle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he actually has this whole section in the book about how frustrating it is to work within government.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Even when everyone agrees something needs to be done, it just takes forever to like actually make it happen.
So the bureaucracy is just too slow.
Oh, it's like trying to turn a cruise ship with a canoe paddle.
Wow.
Yeah. By the time decisions are made, the tech has already like leapfrogged ahead.
Right. It's just moving too fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, you've got companies like, I don't know, pick any tech giant.
Okay.
They're becoming more powerful than some countries.
Yeah.
It's, I don't even know. It's like those dystopian movies where, corporations run everything.
It is a little scary to think about.
It's a little bit, right.
Yeah.
And that power, it's only going to grow as AI gets smarter and, biotech advances and all that.
Right.
So we've got this wave that's like accelerating, and the brakes are well, pretty much non-existent.
Oh, what do we do?
All right. Enough doom and gloom for a sec.
Okay, yeah.
Let's get into what's driving this wave. Because Suleyman says that this time is different.
Different how?
Different from any other tech revolution we've seen.
Okay, I'm curious.
So one biggie is the U.S. and China.
Uh-huh.
They're in this, like, tech arms race. It's like whoever gets to super AI first wins.
Right.
The problem is that fear, it makes everyone move faster, maybe without, thinking enough about the consequences.
So it's like they're so focused on winning the race that they're not really paying attention to where they're going?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And it's not just them, right?
Oh, right.
Other countries are like, hey, wait a minute, we want a piece of this power too.
Uh-huh.
It's turning into this whole techno-nationalism thing.
Yeah, I've heard that term thrown around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings up this, like, really tricky point.
Okay.
Science works best when everyone shares their discoveries.
Right, yeah.
But with this tech, that also means the bad guys can learn just as fast as the good guys.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. It's like, we're all in the same boat.
Uh-huh.
But someone's drilling holes in it for fun.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And then there's, good old capitalism.
Right.
Let's be real. Most tech is built to make money.
Yeah.
And there's a gold rush happening with this wave. Tech companies are now outspending oil companies on research.
Wow, really?
That's how big this is.
That's incredible.
Think about how much money is being poured into AI and biotech.
Yeah.
It's insane. But Suleyman also says we need these advances to, like, fix the planet.
Right, to solve those big problems we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's this crazy paradox, right?
Yes, yeah.
The same tech that could save us also has the potential to destroy us.
A real dilemma.
Yeah. And then there's the human element too, right?
Oh, okay.
Suleyman talks about this ego factor.
What's that?
So basically, a lot of these, like, brilliant minds, they're driven to push the boundaries to see what's possible. But sometimes they don't fully grasp the implications of what they're creating.
They don't think about the consequences.
It's like that famous quote about the atomic bomb,
Which one?
When you see something technically sweet, you go ahead and do it.
Oh, yeah. That's a chilling thought.
It's like we're all a little bit Dr. Frankenstein,
A little bit, yeah.
excited about our creations, but maybe not thinking enough about the consequences.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So given all this, like, what do we do? Are we just doomed?
I mean, I hope not. I hope not. Not necessarily, no. Suleyman, he actually lays out this whole plan.
Okay.
He calls it containment.
Okay.
It's a way to kind of steer this wave so we get all the good stuff
Right.
without, the whole apocalypse thing.
Right.
And it's not just about banning things or just hoping for the best.
Yeah, because banning stuff rarely works, right?
Right, exactly.
People just find ways around it, especially with technology.
Yeah, exactly. It's like whack-a-mole,
Yeah.
You push down one problem, another one pops up.
Right, exactly. So what's Suleyman's secret sauce here? Like, what's his plan?
So he's got this multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
But one of the coolest ideas is building safeguards right into the technology itself.
Okay.
And he called it technical safety.
Technical safety, okay.
Yeah, so it's before you even start building a really powerful AI, you figure out its limits.
Okay.
It's off switch.
So it's like if the AI starts going all Skynet on us,
exactly,
there's a built-in kill switch.
Yeah, exactly. He talks about things like limiting how much computing power an AI can use.
Okay.
So it doesn't just keep growing unchecked.
Right. It can't just take over all the servers in the world and,
Exactly. Yeah. And even cooler, he proposes building these things called critic AIs.
Critic AIs, okay.
So these are basically AIs whose job is to watch other AIs.
Oh, interesting.
And look for signs of trouble.
Okay, so it's like AI cops policing the AI street.
Exactly. Yeah. I kind of love that idea.
That's pretty cool.
Right. And then there's stuff like DNA screening.
Okay.
On those machines that can build custom viruses.
Right.
It's all about making sure the tools themselves are as safe as possible.
Okay, so that makes sense. But what about stuff that's already out there?
Right.
Like, how do you control technology that's spreading faster than a meme?
That's where this idea of rate limiting comes in.
Rate limiting, okay.
Yeah, so Suleyman says we need to identify the choke points
in
how this technology is made and then slow things down strategically.
So, like, if everyone needs a certain type of chip to build, like super advanced AI,
Exactly.
we control who gets those chips.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It buys us time to, like, figure out the safety protocols and the ethics and all that stuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
And he even points to the U.S. limiting those chips going to China
Right.
as a real-world example of this happening.
Interesting. So we're kind of like slowing down the wave
Exactly.
without stopping it completely.
Yeah, yeah. It's about control, not about halting progress altogether.
Okay, so we've got technical safety, we've got rate limiting. What else is in this containment plan?
Well, this one's huge. He says technologists need to take responsibility for what they build.
Okay.
Like, doctors swear an oath,
Sure.
right? To do no harm.
Right.
He thinks tech folks need something similar.
Like a Hippocratic oath for geeks, basically.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Right. Because right now, it's kind of like the Wild West out there.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Suleyman also pushes for more transparency from these companies.
Okay.
Like, if they screw up, they gotta own it. They gotta share what went wrong so everyone can learn.
So no more hiding those, like, oops, we accidentally built a sentient AI moments under the rug.
Exactly, yeah. No more sweeping those things under the rug.
Yeah.
We need to be more open about the risks and the failures.
Okay, so we've got responsibility, we've got transparency. What about government? Like, what role do they play in all of this?
So even though he's kind of jaded about government,
Right.
Suleyman says they still have a role to play.
Okay.
We need, like, global agreements on this stuff.
Right.
Like, think about that treaty.
Okay.
That keeps everyone from building too many nukes. Like, if we can agree to not blow each other up with nukes,
Yeah.
maybe we can agree to not unleash a rogue AI on the world.
Right, exactly. It's like we can cooperate on these big existential threats.
Exactly, yeah. And this is where you and I come in, actually.
Okay.
Suleyman's really big on public engagement.
Okay, so what does that mean? Like, what can we do?
So the more we understand this technology, the better we can hold those in power accountable.
So it's not just on the scientists and politicians, it's on all of us to, like, educate ourselves.
Exactly.
And speak up.
Yeah. We need to be informed citizens.
Right.
And demand responsible development of this technology.
Okay, I like that. And there's one more thing he talks about that I thought was really interesting.
What's that?
He says, we need to get better at admitting when we screw up.
Okay.
Like, the airline industry learned a ton by openly sharing info about crashes.
Right.
He says that culture of learning from mistakes is crucial for tech, too.
Yeah, that makes sense. If everyone's terrified of getting in trouble, they'll just hide problems instead of fixing them.
Exactly. And here's where I think Suleyman's whole flood analogy really hits home.
Okay.
These waves of technology, they start small, like a trickle, but they can become overwhelming really fast.
Yeah. It's like you ignore a leaky faucet for a while, and then suddenly your basement's flooded.
Exactly. And with tech, that flood could be, I don't know, killer robots or fake news so good you can't tell what's real.
Right. So early detection, prevention, those are key. Yeah. Got to spot the problems while they're still trickles, not raging rivers.
Okay, so we've got this plan, but let's get real about the risks here. Suleyman goes into some pretty dark scenarios.
Yeah, he does.
And I got to admit, some of this stuff keeps me up at night.
Me too. It's heavy stuff.
It is, like this whole uncontainable asymmetry thing.
Yeah, he's talking about how easy it's getting for individuals to access incredibly powerful technology.
Right, and that's what's so scary.
It is. Think about it. A few decades ago, if you wanted to, like, assassinate someone, you needed a sniper, a getaway car, all this complicated stuff.
Right, it was like a whole operation.
Exactly. Now, drones with facial recognition, AI-controlled weapons, it's all becoming disturbingly accessible.
It's like in the old days, James Bond villains had to build these elaborate death lasers.
Right.
Now they can just order a swarm of killer nanobots on the dark web.
It's kind of terrifying to think about.
It is, yeah. And it's not just about violence either,
right?
The potential for disinformation is terrifying.
It is, yeah.
We're already dealing with deepfakes and AI-generated propaganda.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where you can't trust anything you see or hear.
Right.
Because it could all be fake.
It's like we're already living in a post-truth world.
Right.
But this next wave could take it to a whole new level.
Yeah, and what does that do to democracy?
Right.
To trust, to our ability to even have, like, a shared reality.
It's a huge concern. Suleyman actually calls it the infocalypse.
The infocalypse.
Yeah, it's this idea that information becomes so polluted, so manipulated that it becomes impossible to separate truth from lies.
And in that environment, like, anything goes, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so we've got killer robots, we've got fake news everywhere. Anything else I should be having nightmares about?
Well, he also talks about the potential for bioengineered pandemics.
Oh, great. Just what I needed to hear.
Yeah, no, it's not exactly cheery stuff. But, COVID-19 was bad enough, right?
Okay.
Imagine something even more contagious, more deadly.
Okay.
Deliberately designed to wreak havoc.
So not only do we have to worry about natural pandemics, now we got to worry about some, like, mad scientist cooking up a super virus in their basement.
It's a possibility, yeah. And he even brings up this thing called gain-of-function research.
Okay, what's that?
So it's where scientists intentionally make viruses more dangerous.
We make them more dangerous. Why would they do that?
The idea is to study them, to understand how they work so we can develop countermeasures. It's a controversial topic.
I bet.
But the logic is to kind of get ahead of the curve.
Right, so we're not caught off guard like we were with COVID.
Exactly.
But it's still scary to think about. Like, what if one of those souped-up viruses escapes the lab?
That's the risk, yeah. And he actually points to this flu pandemic back in 1977 that some scientists think may have originated from a lab leak.
Oh, wow.
It's a reminder that even with the best intentions, accidents can happen.
Right.
And the consequences can be devastating.
Yeah. Okay, I need to, like, take another deep breath.
Yeah, me too.
So we've covered the killer robots, the fake news apocalypse, the lab-made pandemics. What about the economic impact of all of this?
Right.
A lot of people are worried about AI taking their jobs.
Yeah.
Does Suleyman address that?
Oh, absolutely. And he doesn't sugarcoat it.
Okay.
He says AI and automation could displace millions of jobs.
Millions.
Millions. And not just the, like, blue-collar ones.
Oh, wow.
We're talking lawyers, doctors, even artists.
So AI is coming for, like, all the jobs.
It's coming for a lot of professions, yeah. I mean, I've seen those AI art generators.
Right.
They're pretty impressive.
Yeah.
If a little soulless. But still, it's pretty remarkable what they can do.
So what happens to all those people whose jobs get taken over by algorithms?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
Yeah. Suleyman thinks we need to start thinking about things like universal basic income.
Oh.
Where everyone gets a guaranteed minimum income, regardless of whether they have a job.
Okay.
And he's also big on retraining programs,
Okay.
helping people develop skills that AI can't replicate.
So basically, we need to rethink the whole concept of work.
Yeah, I think so. Like, what does it even mean to have a job in a world where robots can do almost everything?
Right.
It's a fundamental shift.
Yeah.
And it's going to require some major adjustments to our economy, our education system, even our social structures. It's a whole new world, for better or for worse.
And speaking of for better or for worse, where does Suleyman ultimately land on all of this? Like, is he hopeful? Or is he just stockpiling canned goods in a bunker somewhere?
Well, he's not quite at the bunker stage yet. He's cautiously optimistic, I'd say.
Okay.
One of the big takeaways from the book, I think, is that the future isn't, like, set in stone.
Okay.
We have choices to make. And those choices, they're going to determine what kind of world we create.
So no need to start building that underground bunker just yet?
Probably not. I mean, maybe hold off on that for now.
Okay, good. Because I haven't, like, started learning how to, grow my own food or anything yet.
Yeah, you've got some time, I think.
All right, good. So Suleyman's big on this idea that awareness is key, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The more people understand what's coming, the more likely we are to demand responsible development of this technology and push for safeguards.
Makes sense. If we're all just, like, sleepwalking into this future, we're going to get the future that nobody really asked for.
Exactly. It's like we need to be awake at the wheel, so to speak.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But how do we even start wrapping our heads around all of this?
He talks a lot about education.
Oh, yeah.
And not just for the, like, tech whizzes building this stuff,
right,
but for everyone. Like, we need policymakers who understand how to regulate these technologies and citizens who can, hold those policymakers accountable.
So we need, like, a crash course in AI ethics for, like, the entire planet.
Pretty much, yeah. It sounds ambitious, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
It is, but he thinks it's possible. He points to things like the global response to COVID-19.
Yep.
Like when we need to, we can come together and address these big challenges.
Right.
And he's a big believer in collaboration.
Okay.
Like getting governments, companies, and researchers all working together.
Because let's be real, none of this is happening in a vacuum.
Right, exactly. This technology, it's global.
Yeah.
So the solutions have to be global, too.
Exactly. And Suleyman's very clear about the stakes here.
Yeah.
He says, if we get this wrong, we risk creating a world that's not just dangerous, but deeply unequal. Like, imagine a future where the rich have access to, like, AI-powered healthcare, education, even life extension, while everyone else is left, like, scrambling for scraps.
Yes, that's the kind of dystopia that we really want to avoid.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that sci-fi movies have been warning us about forever.
Exactly, yeah.
So what's the antidote to that? Like, how do we make sure this wave lifts everyone up?
Well, he doesn't have all the answers.
Okay.
But he poses some really thought-provoking questions.
Like what?
Like, what skills and knowledge will be most valuable in this future?
Okay.
What can we do to prepare ourselves and our kids for a world that's going to be radically different from the one we grew up in?
Because if AI is coming for our jobs, we better figure out what we're good at that robots can't do, right?
Exactly, yeah. He talks about the importance of adaptability, critical thinking, and creativity.
So like less rote memorization, more like learning how to learn, how to think for ourselves, how to solve problems that haven't even been invented yet.
That's the idea. And honestly, one of the most encouraging things about the book is Suleyman's emphasis on hope.
Okay.
He genuinely believes that we can navigate this wave, that we can use our ingenuity and our collective will to create a better future.
So it's like we're all standing on the shore watching this massive wave coming at us. We can either panic and get swept away, or we can, learn to surf.
That's a great analogy. And that's the choice we face. This isn't something that's happening to us. It's something we're creating. We're all participants in this story.
Right.
And we get to decide how it ends.
So no more doom scrolling, no more burying our heads in the sand. It's time to get informed, get engaged, and start shaping this future together.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the coming wave. But the conversation, it doesn't end here. I hope this has given you a better understanding of the challenges and the opportunities that lie ahead, and most importantly, the power we each have to shape the future.